Well, hello, folks, and welcome to another edition of the Firmamental podcast with your boys, Alex and Raul. Alex, say what's up to the Firmamentalists.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Firmadome.
Yeah, welcome back, guys. We got a great guest for his third time returning. We will be introducing shortly. Super stoked to have this gentleman because he's a deep dive researcher, and I just respect the work that he's putting out there. And yeah, I'm just glad to have him tonight. But before we introduce tonight's special guest, just going to remind you guys to rate, share, subscribe the show, help us build that algorithm. Share the episodes, guys. You hear something that resonates with you, something that moves your spirit, something that touches your heart. It's important that we share these messages with other people. And that's how we grow this platform. You know, we're not hitting you with ads. We're not, we're banned on a lot of these social media platforms. They censor a lot of the information that we try to share with you guys. And you know how it is out there. We got to help each other in this battle. So help us out. It really does. You know, we don't do this for money. We don't do this for show. We do this because we believe in it. And we don't want to just give you guys conspiracy porn. We want to try to come up with solutions for what's going on. You know, to me, the solution's always going to be Christ, baby. But, you know, hey, how do we fight the evil going on in this world? What are the things that we do? How do we take care of our families? How do we stay mentally and spiritually strong? How do we have a cleaner diet? How do we live a more productive life? And how do we share this truth with other people that are out there? So that's what the show's all about. So it's very important that we share this information with one another. And you guys, make sure to use that SpeakPipe message system. We'd really like to do a SpeakPipe episode where we play your SpeakPipe messages and respond to them. And we got some cool guests coming up. So let us know what you like. Let us know what you don't like. Give us your suggestions. Give us your comments, and we'll share them on the show. It's been too long since we did one of those. Ain't that right, Alex?
That is for sure. And I constructively file all the complaints and criticisms in the trash alphabetically. So we're fine. They're all there. They're all saved. I just can't see them. So yeah, just keep on the compliments, and we're doing the best we can. And I think that ingesting Firmamental on a daily basis definitely helps. You know, gets your vitamin F up, and will help you along the way. That's it, man. It's simple as that. I think we do a good job of balancing the funny with the serious, and that's the beauty of us. It's like we're not trying to make everybody happy, but at the same time we do. So thank you very, very much for listening.
Yeah, we lose some, we gain some. We lose some, we gain some. But hey, either way, we still keep moving forward. So, Alex, give them the email one more time.
Oh, right. So it's firmamentalpodcast@gmail.com. Hit us up. Definitely check out the swag shop. We got some epic stuff coming. Like, seriously, I'm super stoked. I've given some teasers to Raul. He knows what's coming up. It's going to be, Christmas can't come quick enough for the firmamentalists out there. We're going to have some epic gear to share with the world. And definitely share those episodes because people need to know what the heck Firmamental is.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man, I want to blow the load so quick, but I'm going to keep it this time. I'm not going to spoil it. So you guys are going to have to wait, but we will be releasing some really cool stuff here soon. And we got some amazing episodes in the tank. We just recorded a 4-hour banger the other night that people need to hear this story that we're going to be releasing here soon. So just some editing, some touching up that we got to do. But definitely when this episode comes out, it's going to be one we're going to be pushing super hard. And with no further ado, we're going to be introducing tonight's guest because this gentleman needs no introduction with the Firmamentalist. He is very well known from you guys. He is in our top 5 episodes of all time. Sometimes he's number 3, sometimes he's number 2, but he fluctuates in there. But he's come and brought the thunder before on the show. He's a great follow on social media. So with no further ado, we welcome back our friend and colleague in the conspiracy game, a brother in Christ, Brandon Kroll. Krollology. Welcome back to the Firmadome, my brother.
Thanks for having me back on, guys.
Welcome, Brandon. I was surprised that you haven't converted to Jewishism yet. So,
Youism.
Youism. Again, it was funny. I was talking with Heidi, and we were doing a show, and she's over here going like, "Oh, he means Khazarians, but he has his own way of saying it." And I'm like, "Yeah, Heidi, because when you say it in a particular way, one, you make people prompt the Google search of YEW. Secondly, saved us with the censors, and thirdly, because it's explaining an ideology. not an ethnicity. That's the biggest thing that we
Mm.
have to deal with in our culture. And that is what I am condemning outright. I don't give a crap about your ethnicity. All skin colors, they all get into the kingdom of heaven as long as they accept Christ. That is where I'm coming from.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to lay that out. And actually, it's funny because in some shows, the host will then start using the same word that I'm using. And it's like, good. Now we can actually publish this on YouTube and they're none the wiser.
Mhm. It is weird how uh, they try and blend an ethnicity with a religion, like a belief system,
Yes.
and that really is the. I think
Danger.
that's the whole crux of the thing.
Yes.
I've been saying forever. It's like no, it's like anybody can join up. It's like anybody can join up. I could join up tomorrow if I wanted to.
Hmm.
Maybe I'm not accepted by everybody, or maybe I don't have the bloodline, but technically, you can join an ideology.
Right. Right. And that's the thing is like, this is why they're able to get somebody from Korea and China and Poland and whatnot. Is like, guys, it's an ideology. And if you tap into what that is, you're like, oh, so this is what Christ was condemning? Yes. And this is the people that, did our 9/11. So if you're getting upset with that, it's like, I'd look into why they thought that was a necessary thing to do to us. Because symbolism wise, there's a lot more there that we don't really know, we don't really talk about. And that's, if you actually understand it, as I've broken down, it's you're going, oh, that explains a lot more than just it's just a date. It's just something they threw at us.
You know what would actually get me to not join is if in the pamphlet it said they would cut the tip of your wiener off.
Have a little rabbi come over. Don't
I'm
worry,
like,
I'll take care of the rest.
yeah,
Ah.
be like, no, I'm good. I'm good.
Oh, Alex, man. He's got to always throw the wrench in, man. We love it though. We love it here. So yeah, Brandon, give us some of this like what's the main thing that you've been digging into lately? Like what's really captivated your attention lately?
Um, dozens of topics lately, but as I was saying prior to the show, I'm going to be doing one Helios from east to west,
Mhm.
connecting Baal worship specifically because I watch Dave, I watch all these other shows, biblical cosmology and whatnot, but and it's good. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying I think I can throw my hat in the ring and try to give a little bit of oh, so it's not like, you're some person typed you're losing all credibility when I was posting stuff on this particular topic, and I'm over here going because I believe in the Bible of what it states, and because I'm pulling up verses to back up what I'm saying, because I'm showing two books that at least give it a read. Give it a read, as opposed to just saying I'm taking the official narrative.
Mhm.
So I'm going to try to create something where it really will help connect the dots for folks where you're going, oh, so heliocentricism, it's not just a random name now or a random scientific term that you don't really know, like sophomore means
Mhm.
wise fool. But again, when you dig into this stuff, you're going, oh, had no idea. It's like, yes, you say words, terms all the time, but when you start breaking down the etymology and who it traces back to, it's like
Mhm.
it's right there. Like when you say astronaut, star, not, nautical, water. It's
Mm.
there. It's right there. And if you opened up your eyes and your mind, I'm not saying third eye, but I'm saying open up your mind to saying, you know what? I'll hear what you have to say. Again, as Bible believers, I think we're at the age where it's not just carrying the baton solely anymore. It's you all have to be more controversial because the more fires that pop up, it's like whack-a-mole. It becomes too much to handle.
Yeah.
So we need in Christianity.
Yeah, we need that big thing that you smack the moles with, right?
Yeah. Or
The big
they're gonna need it for us. And I'm like,
yeah.
that's why is the
Yeah,
Antichrist
that's exactly what big tech is doing, playing
yes.
whack-a-mole with us, but they can't like one pops their head up and they might smash us down, another one pops up in another area. They're like, damn, we can't get our thumb on these guys, man. They're just everywhere.
Right. And that's I'm trying to break that down for folks is that God's not a God of symbols, signs, or spells. He's the God of his word. The word became flesh because
Yes.
of Christ. And again, when you understand that, again, I don't buy triune. I say this is God encapsulated in this is all of his words encapsulated in the human flesh. And this is what's significant. This is why he sits on the right side of the throne of God, because Lamb's Book of Life, yes, they chose me, Dad. I under I just did an episode, God's Been Divorced. That was another big thing on my heart, is trying to break that down, the significance of the ripping of the temple veil. Because where was God's presence kept? In the Ark of the Covenant, right?
Mm-hmm.
With the
Yeah.
words on the 10 Commandments. It rips in two. Father, it is finished. What does that mean? Greater is he that is within you than he that is of the world. Know ye not your body is a temple of the Lord. And I'm not saying like God consciousness, just find it within. No, you surrender to the Father and you get indwelled with the Holy Spirit to be a high priest.
Mm-hmm.
So God's not a God of symbol, signs, and spells. He's a God of his word. And for the Antichrist to make war against the saints, what do we have to do? Speak up.
Yes.
Be controversial. Brag about your groom. That's what I'm trying to promote.
Do you think English is one of the languages that they're using more than other languages in order to hide these types of dialects? Like, because I'm trying to think about like Russian or French, but it feels like
Mhm.
English is a way for them to really hide these things.
I think English is like, I don't know, 70, 80% of where they hide most of this stuff. And some of the English will come from like a French etymology, and then it'll come from the Latin. If anything, I call English the most bastardized language in the entire world.
Yeah.
And that's what's taught internationally. Usually that is your second language as a third world country, or somebody that's, oh, we really would love to have an English tutor for our people.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think for sure. And I think that's how part of the way that they lie to people. Like I saw the other day, news, north, east, west, and south. I was like, oh shoot,
Mm.
Mm.
broadcasting. And it's a new, again, I was going, that's pretty sick. And we don't even see it. And that's why I call news hosts, they're modern day soothsayers. Tell me what I want to hear. Tell me the news I want to hear. Oh, good, good, good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
As
because it
opposed to
feels
when you,
it feels like English is like the Tower of Babel story. Like we're all coming back
yeah.
together, and English is the dialect with all these hidden meanings in it.
Hmm. And I think, yeah, for sure. I think that's how you unite a one world order, is you have a one world language, one world like religion. It's like, well, or it's copacetic. We all just get along. You can have any multiple paths, do as thou will. And then, one world currency, which I think will be gravitating into like a digital thing where it's like a Sims character. It's like, I've already been practicing playing this online for so long. Now it's actually a real thing. Because it's invisible, it's like I don't know how much I have in my bank account, but they can literally put in and take away at any time. The government giveth, the government taketh away.
I saw in the news one guy had like $2 trillion put into his bank account. Some dude, he's just like showing it, and it was like a mistake, and he had $2 trillion in his bank account for like a few days, and he was scared to
uh,
spend any of it. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, go, man, just go, go, go.
yeah, right. Just go make that withdrawal. Like I
Right?
wonder what they
Right?
show up when you come to the counter with that slip.
It's the Pentagon money. Oh, we found it. It's in this guy's account. Here it is.
It's like, so that's where it went.
Yeah,
So
that's what happened.
Yeah,
Donald Rumsfeld.
yeah.
That's
right?
Oh man.
man. You had mentioned something too earlier that I've never even thought about before we fired up the microphones, but you kind of were comparing the word Tartarian because this is like a hot thing in the conspiracy world, and we just had Hitler's movie come out, Old World Order, and they get more into the American aspect of these buildings and these structures and what happened. But a lot of the online community is always talking about Tartaria. And
Right.
you just said, I think there's might be some correlation between Tartarian Empire and Tartarus, which Tartarus is also the abyss, right? Or
Or hell.
the
Yeah, yeah,
depths
yeah.
and hell. Yeah. Wow. And I was like, how come I've never thought of that? And then if these things, if these giant structures that had advanced technology, was this technology that came from these beings that come from Tartarus? Like, is
Hmm.
that kind of where you were leading with that, or?
Where it's like, yeah, it's like I laugh at people that are over here saying we're just going to eject Enoch because it's not scriptural canon, and I'm over here like, well, some of this stuff was taken out by church leaders of Catholicism or the Council of Trent and whatnot. But Enoch is the only historical book that gives credence to how did the angels get locked up under the river Euphrates and why are they let loose? It's the only book that gives that explanation. And for me, like I said, did I explain the internet thing with you guys before?
No, please do.
So in Enoch, it states that your children are going to roam the earth for 70 generations until the time of the end. And he's talking to the Watchers saying, okay, your kids, the Nephilim, when they're slain, they're going to roam the earth for 70 generations until the time of the end. And they're over here going, oh, man, this is horrible. And they were going to Enoch saying, could you intercede for us? And he's like, I don't know what to tell you guys. It's a done deal. you done effed up. Excuse the language. But that's basically in essence what he said. He's like, I can't intercede on this one or be the emissary. And so for me, I was going, all right, so we are going from this, and when we get the word demon, that comes from the Greek daemon, and that's either Daimon or Daemon, which means a spirit being. So this is actually where demons come from. It's a slain Nephilim. It's a giant that's been slain. And for me, I was going, okay, that's interesting because the root server for all AI computers is known as daemon or daemon waves. And who gave us the internet? It was lovely people at CERN. And you break down the word internet. Inter, place for tomb or corpse, net, to hold or restrain something. And I'm thinking to myself, hold up.
Wow.
So if God said, or through his son, he said, don't worry about those that can kill the body because it's a temple. So you've been, your soul is secured. It says, but because your souls are now solidified in heaven. And we had that verse in Genesis 6:4. The sons of God came down, had affairs with the daughters of men. You go over to 1 John. Behold what manner the love of the Father that we, Christians, should be called the sons of God. Are we taking their place on a celestial council? Because on the Olympics, they had that golden guy coming down, and he was walking by a headless angel. And I'm beginning to wonder, is that a little bit of a mockery of saying, oh yeah, you'll take our place, but you're going to be headless when you go up, a little bit of a spiritual nod of things. So here's the thing. If God has already secured our souls for a celestial purpose past the firmament, like I said with baptism before.
Wow.
What do they want to do? The angels. They want to give their kids some bodies back. And Christ was constantly casting demons out of people. They're over here going, if you consent to this mark of the beast, we get to indwell you. It's literally a matrix. You can't off yourself. I remember I was reading that passage for 5 months. Nobody can really do anything. Why?
Yeah.
Because you're a matrix. They can go internationally through anybody because you've got the digital chips of AI. A equals 1, 9 equals X, or 9. That's I equals 9, so that's X, Osiris rising. I don't know, but I'm like, that sounds like a very plausible end times thing because when you come out, what do you want? I want my own kids back. And we're just meat sacks for them.
Wow.
Don't know, but.
Wow, that's.
Right? It sounds plausible.
It makes sense.
It's a bookend. It's a bookend of a story.
I don't even know where to go with that. That's so wild.
I'm taking that in. That's pretty deep. And I just always think about this though. I've been thinking this for quite some time now, even before Firmamental, just with this marrying of man and technology and the stories of mire and clay and the convergence of the reemergence of this stuff, and how Jesus himself warned about the reemergence of these people, and he warned about the synagogue of Satan, and he warned about in the end times us seeing the days of Noah return again, right? And it's like, how are they going to pull this off? And I do think that these disembodied spirits are they're roaming around the world. That's what the Bible says. They roam around the world looking for spirits to inhabit, right? Or bodies to inhabit, right? So they can have a vessel to articulate. And they've been looking for this, but they can't touch a saved soul because our temple is already filled with the Holy Spirit, right?
Correct.
So they're looking around like wolves to devour. What they're parasites. They're parasites. So what host can we find where we can now indwell? And the marrying of man with these technologies is them getting the bodies so they can articulate and feed their desires that they haven't been able to feed, because they want to be able to eat, consume, copulate, do all these things. And that's where, when you were speaking this, it really, did you say you're interviewing Karen Wilkinson or Vicky Joy Anderson?
Vicky Joy Anderson.
Okay, yeah. Because when we had, and she's friends with Karen Wilkinson. I don't know if you heard that episode or you're familiar with her, but
Okay.
she was, and she's a Christian. And her abduction experiences that she's had throughout her whole life, uh, kind of tapered down as her faith became stronger later stages of her life. When she became sanctified by the blood of Christ, these things stopped happening to her. But before that happened, she had all these experiences, and she really believes that God allowed her to have these experiences. She can now share it with people what this phenomenon is really all about. And I found the most amazing thing that she talked to us about on our episode with her, and I had never thought about this, was, and it made complete sense. She said that the grays were just avatars, that the real ones were inside of the earth, and that they were the controllers of the grays, and that the grays were just there to perform a task to get the persons that they were looking for to take them to these, what she assumes was deep underground military bases. And she says there's ranks and orders of angels, and there's different ones. She said there's some that look like insects, there's tall grays, there's government officials, and there's shapeshifters. And she said the grays are nothing more than avatars. So if these disembodied spirits of the Nephilim, what if since they desire to have all these things, but the angels, the fallen angels that are in Tartarus, are their parents, right? They're still using them to perform tasks, but they can't give them physical bodies with genitalia or mouths, because they can't disclose what they're there to do. They can't perform these because if they had members, right, then they would be able to do things like that curse God got rid of their bodies in the first place for doing.
Yes.
That it makes sense that they're just there now performing these tasks, doing favors for their parents, which are in Tartarus, and now as a return for helping them amass what they need to re-infiltrate and stage the second attempt to wage war with God. Okay, you've done this for us, and now no longer we're building this for you, since you've done this for us. And now that we've got this all set up, and they're doing this for them because they think they're going to get their payout at the end, which is what? Us. They want us. They want our bodies. They were jealous of us in the first place as God's creation. They wanted to be in our role. They even fell from heaven because they wanted our free will and the ability to reproduce. And they knew that God was going to make himself in the image of what? A man, and become a man. So we were special in God's eyes. And this has always been the war. And they're coming up with all these other things like the ancient astronaut theories and all this stuff to confuse people of what they really are. Yeah, but it made complete sense to me when I looked at it that way.
Nice breakdown. Yeah, and what's Christ doing in contrast? I go to prepare a place for you up in my Father's house. This is what communion was all about. You're choosing the Father's Son, like I explained before. Dad would say, hey, young man, do you want to carry on the responsibility of taking care of my daughter, provider, provisioner? Like that's what was going on with Mount Sinai. That's what that was, a ketubah being signed in stone between two parties in a marriage relationship. Jeremiah 3:8, he gave him the bill of divorce. Why? Because it's going to be redone. It's going to be through my son this time. Everything's still in play, but you have to accept my son. You are Antichrist who deny the Father and the Son, as it says in 1 John 2:22. So it makes you go, hold up. So what is the Son? The Son was the Word. Do you believe in all my promises in the past and yet to come? And again, when you made that choice of accepting this cup, well, he said, Father, if you get this cup passed from me, you're choosing this cup ceremony. You're saying, okay, I'm accepting of this contract. And the daughter, she had the choice to say, Dad, it was at this time where it wasn't patriarchy, it wasn't forced. It would say, Dad, I don't really want this selection. Could we go back to the drawing board? Or it was, I approve. I drink the rest of this wine glass. And what does the young man do? He goes to add on to his father's house to induct in the new bride. This is why we're called the bride of Christ, because you are choosing the Father's selection. It's like, guys, this is so beautiful. And average Christians, they're just going, well, do I get a rapture? Do I get out? Is it a package plan of salvation? That's so, it's like, no, they got people working for them, demonically speaking. And this is what we have the gift of, is if you understand the word, you live the word, they're scared of you. This is why demons were going all crazy when Paul and whatnot were walk up in front of them, because they're just going, oh my gosh, you're filled with the Holy Spirit. We hate that. Why? Because Just saying, folks, if you want to start endearing some supernatural encounters, I'm just saying, when you have the Holy Spirit in you, you're going to start seeing that a lot more frequently.
Go ahead, Alex.
I was just going to say that this is like a terrifying topic, and the only thing I can think of is, man, I'm going to be super pissed if somebody Grand Theft Autos my body because I've been working really hard, getting shredded, and if I lose all that effort, so I got to be on the right team. But at the same time, I have to crack this joke because it's like the most terrifying thing I can ever think of. And yeah, I just don't want to, this is a lot of effort, Brandon. Like, come on, man, 45 years. Like, this doesn't just happen by accident, my friend.
You're bought and paid for, Alex. You're good, brother.
Yes.
We'll pray for you at the end of this episode, man.
Well,
You're fine.
Okay.
Oh, I just wanted to add something here because it's funny. I just had a friend over at the house. The Firmamentalists would know him from the Called to the Light with Reed, which I got a lot of good feedback. But we were just talking about this, and I was talking about how he was talking about praying and using the word without speaking. And I thought that was interesting when he brought that up at my house today. He said the Father has been speaking to him to use the word without speaking it. And then I just looked at him and I said, what do you mean by your actions? And he said, yes, we're called to action. But he said he's been praying in his mind's eye, and he said sometimes he doesn't have to say things to get a result from the Spirit. And I was like, that makes sense because, I work in recovery and sometimes I work in these detox units and I see people that are under the influence coming down off of meth and fentanyl and these drugs today are demonic forces, man. I'm telling y'all. And I was telling him I can relate to what he was saying because my heart breaks for some of these people. There's certain units I have to go by and do a 15-minute bed check because these people are in such bad shape and they're coming off of drugs and dope. They could have alcohol. They could have seizures. We have to keep tabs on these people. So I have to physically, certain units go around and check them every 15 minutes. And sometimes I will come up on an individual and I will see somebody like having a night terror or talking to themselves in their sleep. And the Spirit tells me, like the Holy Spirit tells me, my heart breaks for these people. I'm like, man, I can't even imagine being in this place under this affliction, under the thumb of these demonic forces, and it breaks my heart. And I can't just go, it's work. I got to be professional. I can't go laying hands on these people and praying for them. But God's been speaking to me about praying for these people, and I can't do it out loud. So what I'll do is I just start praying in my head, and I start rebuking, oh, you foul spirit, release yourself from this poor person in the name of Jesus Christ. This is a child of God. And I'm thinking these thoughts in my head, praying in my head as I'm like, signing off my bed check. And literally I will see like people start to like flinch and move. And is it them or is that foul spirit that's trying to attach itself to that poor person, picking up on what I'm doing, but they don't have the authority to come at me, and I'm not provoking spirits. Me and Alex have learned this lesson, right, Alex? But yeah, I just wanted to share that with you. What do you think about that, Brandon?
They're very telekinetic, and as we lead with a lot of cryptids, even with that, there's constantly all these things that I do listen to on these shows. It sounds like often it's like it felt like he was speaking to me, and even though it wasn't even like opening its mouth, it was like I think that's something that's there. And I think, yeah, when you were saying that we were already bought and paid for, ironically, Christ was sold for 30 pieces of silver, which was the ongoing price of a slave during that time and era, which really makes me scratch my head where I'm like, so you're telling me that the Prince of Peace was sold for the price of a slave to redeem the slaves from their sins. Like I would venture to say that Judas actually might be in heaven. And why the heck would I even state something like that? Well, because what is materialism? It's wealth, and that's what he said to the rich man. Can he get rid of that? And what does he say about is like what does a guy do when he finds a great wealth or a treasure in a field? He says he gets rid of everything to invest in this one particular thing because the kingdom of heaven is that important. And Judas, in contrast, he goes to the priest. Now the priests are supposed to discipline and probably execute somebody that was betraying somebody of their tribe, and they're the ones that made this deal with him, so they're not going to execute him. He can't go and see Christ. So what does he do? I don't want this materialism stuff. He throws it back into the temple, and then he curses himself on a tree because he doesn't understand the end game of Christ. And I'm over here beginning to wonder, guys, Judas put a lot more effort without understanding what was going down. he put a lot more effort saying, I don't want the things of this world, a lot more than modern day Christians. And I was connected that Hermes, which is equivalent to Nimrod's son Tammuz, he might have been the originator of coinage, which I highly suspect yes, because the all-seeing eye thing is on our money and that connects with him. So I was going, and then as for the demonic possession aspect, I think I think that a lot of folks don't seem to realize is that it doesn't even matter how minuscule or small you might think it is. Because if the angels are able to speak telekinetically, like telekinetically between one another and their kids, this is a power that we have that we don't even need to utter it because it's that powerful. Is that if the Holy Spirit indwells you, you literally have to think it. And that's just the thing. God could think something into existence and boom, poof, it's there. When we breathe, like the word Yahweh is allegedly, when he first breathed into Adam, it was every time you take a breath, you're saying your creator's name. Imagine going to heaven, like every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess. All you have to do is utter a breath and you said your creator's name. It's very powerful, folks. And I'm over here going, if we understood, if like we cut down, I'm not saying science as in like, all the worldly science, but I'm saying we broke down how much the creator has invested in us, we would see how powerfully he can work through us once we're actually now equipped with the Holy Spirit. On top of that, doesn't matter what our vessel is, it's what our heart and mind is. Don't just be lip pleasers. Let me know where your heart is and I will indwell you.
And I think that so much of what we're enduring as human beings is like, as far as like the fluoride in the water and the chemicals and all these like death by 1,000 cuts, is to separate that telekinetic connection and to take away our our ability to feel the creator or feel, even connect with each other.
I think it's to deteriorate us to an extent. And I don't mean like the third eye thing or finding your Christ going. I think to an extent, yeah, because like even with pews, you're staring at the back of somebody's head to look up at a man that's on an altar. And I was reading a verse somewhere in Leviticus or Exodus. It was actually Gary's book. At the top of the chapter was that. And I was over here going, I don't know if you meant it in that context, but that was really making me think. We putting a man on an altar and then stands behind a podium when we should be sitting almost in a circular formation, like a Senate, where we're looking at each other. Like right now, we're looking at each other's faces. I'm not staring at the back of your head.
Mm-hmm.
And what does that do? But it cuts you off and you're in a cube. You're in a cubicle Christianity set. You pop into your pew, stare at holy man, and then you go about your day. You're not communing like the ecclesia should be as a body of Christ.
Yes, my brother. We just had an episode. What was the gentleman's name, Alex? And he talked about that the modern church, the way we perform modern church, the way it's become so religiously structured, and to deem that much responsibility on one man who's the dispensator to the congregation, right, is almost too much to ask of one person. Not saying that you don't have leaders in the church or somebody to lead a group, but I think that we need to go back to this form of ecclesia where everybody gets involved and we face one another. And when people have questions, they should be able to ask them, and then some other people within that group, probably somebody has the answer for them. And that's how God speaks to us, right? Through others. So I think we just totally put limitations on the Spirit and the movement of the Spirit. And that's what turned me off from the modern church so much when they just laid down during the pandemic. I was like, what master do you serve? You, God or government? And I saw right through it, and 6 feet apart. And it's like, no, we're supposed to lay hands on one another and pray for the sick. And I think that, and I heard you talk about that with Cliff Stevens, and you were talking about ecclesia. And we just had an episode where we had a gentleman talk about that he started his own home church, and that's the way they do it. It's more of a form of ecclesia, and everybody participates.
Yeah, shout out to Darren on that one.
Yeah, man, amazing, dude. I think you'd really enjoy that episode if you went and listened to it. Probably be a good guy to have on your podcast, because that's what this. I think the Lord's been showing this guy a lot in regards to the ecclesia aspect of how we should be holding our. I don't want to call it church even,
restructuring the body in a sense, but like Frank Viola, Pagan Christianity, huge shout out to that. That's one of the top 5 books ever for me. but he was showing like where all these traditions in the church came from. When you start breaking it down, you start going, so this came from a pagan custom? Why are we doing this? Why am I getting all dressed up? Why am I doing this tithing thing? Why am I And when you start breaking this down, suddenly you go, okay, so how am I supposed to be doing that? I remember I was reading one thing in the beginning, I think it was the introduction. If you feel like, the routine of church, blah, 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 and everything is just feels weird, and everybody, when you bring this kind of stuff up, everybody looks at you like you're the weird one and stuff like that. Says, don't worry, this is a book for you. And I was over here like, that's a me. Because I was looking at my church, like you said, we're wearing all these emblems of fear on our face. They had caution tape between the pews for like the first couple weeks. And I was over here going, you're wearing masks in front of me. He was wearing gloves, the pastor, when he came over to shake my hand during the first week or so. And I was going, okay, I understand first week we're kind of all getting you like, but gloves? Like, this is a bit excessive and extreme. We serve a God whose son conquered death. We should be literally out in the world going, bring it. It's okay. Why? I'm not afraid. I'm not
Yes.
afraid. I can lose this body. It's totally fine. But everybody was going, no, we need to get this or that. And I'm over here like, guys, no. And I think the way that Viola and this Darren guy, they bring it to the point where it's, guys, you have a body of Christ, and it's not about one guy that went to seminary. It's about, I went through that. I did drugs for a while too. Come over here. Let's have a chit chat. Or, something. It's not. It's somebody that's been strengthened in the faith. I think it's Luke 22:32. It says, I have prayed for you. Satan desires to sift you like Peter, but I have prayed for you that when you are ready, strengthen the brethren. What does he do? He denies Christ 3 times. And later on, he says, are you ready to feed my sheep? Do you love me? Yes, yes, yes. He says it 3 times. And when you think about that, that's a huge redemption arc saying, I get the parables now. I get everything that you've been teaching. It's not just words to me and I'm sitting there in awe because of who you are. It's now, that's part of me. I want to start doing that. And I had somebody that wrote a comment because I was calling out another page. I was calling me out because I was condemning Christmas trees. And they went on the whole thing, screenshotted my page. And I don't even care about names. I'm not calling out people like that. But what it was the idea, what I wrote in my inscription, I said, imagine she was on the receiving end of a letter from Paul. And it was calling her out by name for some certain practices that they're still keeping in their life. I says, and she's acting like this. She's calling me. And somebody wrote in the comments like, oh, you're comparing yourself to the Apostle Paul. I said, no, I'm not. I'm saying we are the body of Christ. We all have the power to be like Paul's and speak on our groom's behalf. And again, like you're saying, like some are of Apollo, some are of Paul, some are of this one. When they're talking about preachers, it's not about the guys that are speaking. It's about, are you living the message? Stop arguing the semantics of who's teaching the message and start living it. So people ask of the faith that is within you, as it says in 1 Peter 3:15. Sorry, I'm getting on passionate. Sorry, getting the endorphins kicking in. I'm sorry.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, it's man, all this stuff is fascinating, and I think that Darren did a really good job when he was on our episode, because where do we separate traditions from that's the way we always did it? You know what I mean? Because when you were talking, I'm like, oh man, so how do we not fall for all these pagan things? And it's almost like we all have to get back to where we are right now. It's like, why do we do this? We basically have to question everything, right? Why are we doing this? Please explain it and learn from your elders. And I feel like
history,
right? And I feel like so many of the elders, they just didn't do that, and now our generation is the one that's like having to trying to, like, I don't know, re-engineer the wheel and put things back together because we kind of got off track doing all these weird things and not knowing why.
Yes.
I think now, thank you, Alex, because I was looking for the words to share and I didn't want to share it unless I felt like I had it right. But you just piece that together and it makes sense to me now, what I'm about to share. And that's exactly what it is. I think that our parents and our grandparents, and I don't know how many generations this goes back, but they got used to tradition. and they got used to the same thing, and this is just what we do, and we don't question it. This is what our family does. And instead you got these younger generations that come in and they're too rebellious, right? They're too like just anti everything, and I'm not going to participate at all. I'm gonna break away from all of that. Screw all tradition. Like I'm gonna run away from it. No, there's still good stuff in there. Like God's bride, God's people were still in there. They were still worshiping God. They were still coming together, but they were, what were they, what was had been brought to them and brought into these faith groups and these religions? What infiltration has been done where they're now it's become this dead form of just going through the motions, and it's not really doing any function. It's just more of, this is what we do. Like, no, why do we do the things that we do? And I think until recent times, and see, it's amazing how God's used what happened to us in 2020 to wake up people like ourselves and others around us and say like, hey, if it's gotten this bad and we've fallen this far and we've fallen for so much deception, and it took these extreme circumstances to wake people up to start to question things like, how did it even become this bad? Like, how is society just accepting this? Like, I tell people all the time, we need not be fooled and fall into the same thing when they try this stuff again, because if we do, we're screwed. But I think a lot of people really woke up, and like Brandon was saying, it woke us up when we're like, hold on, we serve the most like, if you're not a believer, let's be a knower. Know that you're bought and paid for. How are they using death as a tool to control us? And Christians were right there with them, and I couldn't see it, and it really did break my heart. But it exposed it was like a test when they put you in the scanner at the hospital, and they look for what is that? Not an X-ray, but the sonogram, and they're looking for masses and lumps and something that needs to be removed. I look at that whole chapter and era and time for people that have the Holy Spirit. It was like God scanning over the body, showing what needed to be removed. And that's exactly it, man. We saw how that went down, and we saw how the churches responded to it, and we're like saying, hold up, this is broken. We need to do something about it. We need to fix it. And you know how we fix it? By coming together, not by one person being the dispensator. We have to get together and strategize and game plan and become a unit and pray with one another and break bread with one another and do it the way that they were doing it when Jesus was walking around on earth. We need to start doing that now. And I think that's like a beautiful thing, and we should be yearning for that. And if the, these denominations don't want to do it for us, then it's up to us to do it. And there's nothing wrong with saying, like, you don't have to have a seminary degree or, you have to be some huge theologian, man. Read God's word, pray, put it to action, live your life like that, wash your heart, try to better yourself and share it with others, and open your home and say, hey, let's start this thing. Let's start this group. Let's get together. Let's pray for one another. Let's be invested in each other's spiritual lives. This is how we do it. I don't know. I maybe there is a church out there for me that I can go to, but dude, when I go to these churches, man, I'm sorry. I'm not feeling it. I'm not moved by it anymore. I yearn for something more.
You're hungry. Yeah. And I think that's a lot of folks, like, that's what they're saying. Sometimes it's podcasts where I actually feel better. I remember I told my pastor one time, it was fall, and I love fall. And I was standing outside doing ushering. I was opening the door, closing it, and then I was just kind of standing there for a moment going like, it is really just a gorgeous day outside. It was gorgeous. And he comes out, he's like, you coming into the service? I'm like, just taking a moment. And later on I was explaining to him, because I said, sometimes I feel closer to God when I'm out in nature as opposed to sitting in a pew. And I'm not saying like New Age, I'm hugging trees and whatnot. I'm saying I literally just appreciate watching a squirrel chase another squirrel through some leaves and watching the brook do its thing. Like, it's just, God walked with Adam and Eve in a garden. Just go a forest for rest. It's created for you for a reason. And like you just said, denominations, nations. In Christ's time, it was religious sects. Like Alex was saying, it's Kabbalah. You have done the traditions of your fathers. We're just doing, like you said, some of them are actually still going for the right reasons and right purpose, but the Babylonian Talmud was mixed in. And Christ was saying, you know what? No, 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 no. We're not mixing with the traditions of men. We're walking away from that. And that is actually what Romans 12 and Hebrews 13 is talking about. We're no longer doing the Judaic faith anymore, guys. We're walking away from that. That's what pastorship was. I'm mentoring you how to walk away from that. Even sometimes Peter, remember? Peter,
Mm.
the sheep, remember this? First, it was to you guys. That's why I first came to the 12 disciples who are of my ethnicity. After this, you can go talk to Cornelius. You can go talk to other people, Lydia and whatnot. It's okay for them to come into the fold. That's what this gift is so special. And I don't, and people are hungry and they're not being fed. And I think that is really a spiritual gift. Like you said, it's separating the wheat from the tares, the sheep from the goats. And spiritually, some of us are going, I don't know how to tell you this without sounding incredibly arrogant or rude or pompous, but you're pretty shallow, dude. Or whoever. I've lost so many peers my age. Like I was talking to Alex before, I'm like, I'm not even 30 yet, but somehow I've lost most of my peers. I have probably one friend around my age that I can truly say is like, I'm tight. There's other ones like, I think you turned me in a heartbeat. But with him, it was like, guys, this is really where we're at. And it's sad because I think it was it an Amos or was it Joel? Joel, and I think it's Matthew, where it says in the last days, the young people will have visions and dreams, and your old men will, and then start prophesying, and people will seek the true interpretation of things. That's the age I think we're truly living in. I don't know. I know some people are saying, we got another 30, 40 years until he comes back. I'm over here like, I don't think I could play for inflation that much longer.
I was going to say that there's probably nothing more powerful than not fearing death.
Mm,
And I could put that to the test. Like, I get on my motorcycle every single day in the summertime, I ride, and my dad is constantly phoning me, when are you going to sell the bike? I'm like, Dad, I don't fear death at all. I don't get on my bike and
so-
worry. I don't get in my car and worry that I'm going to get in a car accident every time I drive it. It's like I live in peace. And it reminds me of the story of this rabbi that I knew back home, and he was dying of cancer. And it was a long battle of really, really nasty stuff. And it always bothered me because it was going on for years. He was bedridden for 3 years as his bones were basically melting to nothing. And it really bothers my soul, even to this day, worrying about him because I know that he was worried about dying.
mm,
And because that's the only explanation. Why would you want to hang on in excruciating pain, living this life for over 1,000 days in bed, having zero quality of life? Why wouldn't you
mm,
just let go and go back, go to God? Like, why would you burden your family with having to see you go through those things?
mm,
And being a rabbi, I'm like, man, you're supposed to be of faith. You're supposed to embrace going to the other
yes,
side. And that
yes.
just really, even right now, as I'm saying it, it just bothered
Mm,
me so much. And I think that that says a lot about where people's true faiths are. It doesn't matter if they're in the cloth or whatever, but like honestly, I would not want to suffer for even a day. I would
mm,
be ready. I would say goodbye to my family and I would go and I would be okay. And they would know that I'd be okay.
right.
So how strong is your faith if you're of the
Mm,
cloth and you're going to melt for 3 or 4 years?
Wow, deep. I, I think the Holy Spirit wants me to share something. I know I mentioned my buddy Reed coming over here today too, and when you were talking, Alex, I was. It's funny. He shared this with me again. Shout out Reed. He sent me this quote today. It said, "You relax on a bus not knowing the driver. You relax on a plane not knowing the pilot. Why not relax in life knowing God is in control?" And
mm,
that hit me. I was like, wow, it's sometimes it's real put real simply, but it's so profound. It's so simple, it's beautiful. We don't think about these things. Like, who's really controlling the wheel? Is it you yourself, your emotions, your thoughts, the things that tend to get us in trouble, reacting off of our emotions, living inside of our own heads instead of living inside of our hearts, listening to the loud voice instead of listening to the small, still voice? Yeah, that's
mm,
what's got us into this predicament. Like, we need to learn to cultivate that little small voice and turn the loud voice down and turn God's voice up. because that's what they're doing. They're using fear as a tool to round up the cattle. They're making loud, noisy sounds, scaring us into the pen, their pen. It's indoctrination, it's imprisonment of us spiritually, and that's what they want. They want to disconnect us from. I mean, come on, they're censoring permaculture algorithms in YouTube now. It's because they don't want you to know how to eat your clean, healthy diet. They don't want you to know about alternative medicine. They want you relying on everything on there. They're pushing us because they know that is how we connect to God. Like you said, for rest. I never thought about that. For rest. Like even today, I just went for a hike. It's so good. It was so pleasing and so fulfilling to do that. It brought so much joy to me today, that's why they want us in these smart cities. That's why they want us. They're really pushing it hard on these youth to these video games where you have a character and you have this role that you're RPG. You always talk about real life RPGs, Alex. Like they want people consumed into this digital world, this concrete world, this corporate world. Like they know that if we're connected to nature and the creation, don't worship the creation, but worship thee who created it, and that's the way I look at our beautiful nature. It's not like making it into some new age religion or anything. Like you always say to be real leery of it, but it is how we connect. And I think that's why a few hundred years ago people were probably so connected, family units were so connected, and now we're so disbanded. We talked about this too, Alex. When we were on the phone, we were talking about it. I think earlier today or yesterday, we were talking about it when I was taking Troy to jiu-jitsu. Like when we were coming out from our family's wing and we were branching out into the world, it's like, oh, I need to get away from my family. I need to find my own path. I need to start my own life. I need to find it is what I want to do. I think we're coming back into a time where it's not about breaking apart and finding ourselves individually. We need to start to pull our families back together. Now is more important than ever that we start to pull back together and we start to say, okay, we don't like this system that we're living in. We don't like the things, the opportunities that are being granted to us. So how do we change it? We change it from within ourselves and our families. And we have to be, as the men, to be the one to make these changes happen.
Absolutely. And when you were saying earlier, they don't want us to know, but that's part of the thing with Socrates is because of his method. He'd say, ask the question, why? Or you believe something. Okay, let me ask you this. He would dig, solidify for me why you to believe what you believe. And this was causing a problem because the youth were starting to ask questions why. And this is part of the thing why they hated him, because now the youth are asking the question why. They won't just go along with the system of it's always been. Socrates, drink some hemlock, go shut yourself up or we'll make it worse for you. And it's the thing where it's like, guys, that's what it comes down to. Examine if you're in the faith and try to come back to re-edify. What can you bring to the like? That's not what your country. What can you bring to the body of Christ? Well, I'd only have 2 mites. It's a lot. You start giving everything you've got. You may think I don't have any abilities with speaking. Can you cook? There, we have a potluck. This is a thing, folks. You might think it's so minute, but that gift and what you can train somebody else with, it's phenomenal. With all the crap they put in food, that could be something great. It was like, you know how to knit. Thank you. You made me a nice hat for the upcoming winter. Something like that. And a lot of folks don't seem to realize is like, even if you think your gift is so small, it is so greatly appreciated and loved. And I don't think that's the second thing. We really do not say or incorporate a grateful aspect in our everyday life of saying, I appreciate what you've brought to the table, or I didn't think of it like that. I needed someone to kind of push me a little bit on that area because that's something I've been floundering in, and I appreciate what you did. There's none of that either. It's all like, I'm perfect. I don't need anybody to tell me what to do. I don't need to. And I think that's become a very narcissistic society where that started creeping in and people are becoming lovers of themselves, and seeing that within the church. Congregation of the dead, man. Congregation of the dead. And that's a phrase used in the Psalms or Proverbs. It's like it's a real thing in real time right now.
Yeah, how many people do you think get up and go to church out of just guilt or just don't want to be there? I mean, why? Why do that? Why force yourself? Why not go and do something different? Go to a men's group, go to
Yes.
something else. Just, I mean, there's other ways to give or tithe your
Tribute.
time. Yeah, there's different ways to do it other than to just go be an NPC and sit somewhere where you don't want to sit. I mean, you
Right.
sit in your cubicle all week at work, and then
Yes.
you go sit on Sunday, and you don't want to be anywhere. You're spending 90% of your time doing the things you don't want to do, and it's mind-boggling. Like, people need to realize that the traps that they're in, they're creating them themselves. And they
Yes.
do actually have the power if they just kind of woke up for a minute and took a look around at the things they didn't like and the
Right.
things that they could change. You might not be able to change everything, but I mean, you can change like 10, 15, 20%, and then you can keep
Mm.
increasing it. It doesn't have to be all, quit your job tomorrow, but
Right.
there's ways to change things. And so many men, we sacrifice we sacrifice our joy. We sacrifice the things that we love most to do the things we like the least because
Mm.
that's what we do. We're these beasts that like take care of our families and we take care of
Yes.
ourselves last. It's so man, it's so wild. So it's good
No,
round
well
table
said.
so far, guys.
Creating their own prison. That reminds me of my dinner with Andre. And even if you just watch it, and you're kind of like, "Oh," it's a movie that gets you to think. He's like, what if New York is like the modern slave thing, and then like the citizens are their own prison guards, and they don't even realize? And I'm over here going, yeah. And you're getting caught up in this bog, and
Hmm.
somebody's over here going, does this seem right to you? Stop asking questions, huh? I thought we were friends. Let's just like it's all of a sudden you ask that question,
Mhm.
you're against the system, and it's like I'm not saying that like I'm disregarding the pastor, but why do I like one time they got upset when I called him by his first name? Says no, you call him by his, and then it's like a father and son at my place. Son took over, um, and they're referring to each other as pastor. I'm like, could you can't refer to him by his name? Like he's your son, or call
Hmm.
him dad. It's okay. We're human. We have families too. There's no shame in it. But the fact that you have to have such reverence for a title really makes me go, you're putting your emphasis on the wrong thing. And the people that are following you, you're like a Diet Coke Catholic. It's the same thing. You just got rid
Ooh,
of the statues. That's it. That's all
Yeah.
you did.
yeah. And sorry, I called it RPGs, NPCs. Alex
Yeah,
always talking about the NPCs. But you know what? When you guys were talking about this, I just popped in my head, so I wrote it down. You've heard this saying. They say, "Oh, let's put on our Sunday best." Put on your Sunday best. How about you put on your best every day? Period. Like, stop putting on your Sunday best. Stop trying to be this image to other people. Just be you. Embrace how God made you and who you are. And I think that's a beautiful thing that you shared, Brandon. Like, uh, and I'm gonna put my girlfriend under the bus. But my girlfriend Beth always says, like, well, I'm nothing special. I told her I think you would be awesome to have on the podcast. I would love to have a conversation with you. You have a lot of awesome points that you make. Oh no, it's just no way. I can't do it. It's just not me. And I have nothing to contribute. I don't even have talents. Like, not, I mean, I have myself up, but my girlfriend tell me, oh, well, you rap and you do this and you can draw and you have all these hobbies that you do. And I have nothing. Like, no, you have a lot of talents. But a lot of people, how many people tell themselves these things? Like, I can't do this. I can't do that. I don't have no real talents. Like you do. You're not
Mhm.
giving them enough time. You're not cultivating them, like it's even the most insignificant thing. Like you said, somebody bake an awesome cake and bring it and say here, and everybody share it, and like everybody gets joy out of having that cake and coffee and ice cream together, and we all sit around a table and it's like, who brought this? This is amazing. Oh, Cindy brought it. Oh
Mhm.
wow, Cindy, I didn't know you were quite the baker. And then it makes her whole day and peps her up, and she's like, oh wow, like look at all the joy I brought people today. It could be something as insignificant as that. Like, and you talked about somebody knitting something. There was a lady at the church that I used to, the last church that I was attending, and that's what she did. She knitted little hats, like really awesome hats, and they were really warm, and she'd go around and hand them to the homeless people. Like, that's cool. Like, there is something you can do. Find it. Ask God, talk to him. He's there all the time, just waiting for you to make that call. Ask him what it is that you can do for him. Even if it's just like going in your prayer closet and becoming a prayer warrior, that is more significant. You don't understand how powerful the power of prayer is, folks. It's so important. We need to become these prayer warriors that our little grandma was, like,
Mhm.
yeah.
I was gonna say too, Brandon, he struck something like when I was a kid. I remember seeing these videos of like New York City or Chicago. I've been to Chicago a few times, and they got these crazy ghettos. And it's like, why would you want to live in the most expensive city in the world as one of the most poor people in the world when all you
Mm,
got to do is sell some of your things, grab a bus ticket, go to rural America, and just rent a little place and start working a little job, or doing sharing your gifts or farming or whatever. But it would be 10,000 times easier to get your American dream not living in a concrete jungle, and you'd be way safer. Your family would be way safer. It's like, think about it. If Brandon, if you and me move to New York and we go get an apartment, you and me are gonna have to make like 200-300 grand a year
mm-hmm.
just to be lower middle class. Never mind. So if you and me go to Iowa and we go, rent a place, we could probably make like 50 grand and we'd be like living like kings. So
Mm-hmm.
what would be better, living in New York pretty crappily or living like high on the hog in Iowa? I'd probably
Right.
take Iowa.
Mhm.
It's crazy the prisons that people don't even realize they're in, and that's the point that you were making. It really is that simple, and it's the mindset of not of being too scared to change your surroundings or think about like my family. They left Russia. They left everything they knew at the drop of a hat when their visas came in,
Mm.
and they just had to take the leap of faith and try. And now we live in communist Canada, but hey, my grandparents are spinning in their grave, but I'm trying to turn it around doing this podcast. But um g- previous generations had that leap of faith. They had that bravery to go do the thing that was hard. And I
Mm.
feel like, I don't know, maybe it's the boomer generation, like the children of those people that kind of got comfy and then they bred us to be, I don't know what we are. I'm disappointed in Gen X. And millennials. It's like we got to be tougher, man. Like there's a reason why they can take over.
Yes.
That's my rant.
But no, everything you said I align with because I'm like I'm looking around at my peers and ones that came after, and I'm going, guys, like I'm talking serious stuff. Like when I go to game night, and then they all start talking bad about me when I was in another room. And I came in, I was like, oh, so we all talk bad about the conspiracy theory guy, but the minute I come in the room, you guys all lose your backbones, you know? And it's kind of like this collective
Mm.
where it's like a prison thing. It's like, oh, look, the new guy, you know?
Hmm.
And it's like, yeah, I'm bringing a perspective that you guys don't talk about, but you always talk about the new video game. You have a Lego thing of NASA, and I'm over here going, you are so freaking programmed. It's ridiculous. You know, like for me, and I think even Iron Man is on his wall. And I was chuckling because I was going, Iron Man, NASA, you're like ready for the mark of the beast, and you don't even see. Again, I'm saying elements. I'm not saying Iron Man is like but I'm saying the elements of like nanobots and the NASA aspect. Like you're living in a world where it's you're already going for the empire of iron and clay. Somebody like me, I throw a whole monkey wrench into that, and it's like, guys, I'm not trying to say I'm smarter than you. Intelligent people thrive off the ignorance of others. That's all it is. Because I bothered to read a book and you're going to condemn me for saying, "Hey, guess what I read today?"
Hmm.
That's what's scary. And
Yeah.
again,
And
the
and
Bible
Brandon's trying
for
to get
this.
you laid because nobody's getting laid with Iron Man on the wall. So, Brandon, thank you for helping your friends.
Living with his parents. Don't say this.
Oh shoot. Maybe if he had the Punisher on the wall. Yeah.
Yeah. I tell
I'm-
folks, I said, I feel like a historical Punisher is over here, like, send them my way. I'll be the, because somebody wants me to debate somebody because I tap into what I do. So it makes me unique in the angle that I have. But I'm over like as a contrarian, I'm like, send me in. I'll be your honey badger.
Mhm.
And that's kind of the thing, guys, is like we all have a gift in the body of Christ. And if it means being controversial and having few friends, well then okay, I'll do it. But that's the thing is everybody has their own niche. Somebody can be a perfect father figure and you're instilling values into your kid to ask questions. Like I always see Cliff and I'm over here, I'm loving what I see what he does with his daughter because
Yeah.
he's really keeping her, hey honey, I'm just letting you know that celebrity. It's like, and I'm like, that's awesome. Why can't we do that more?
Yeah. Dude, if more parents were just invested and that spent that much intimate time with their child, like it's just we talk about it all the time on this show. How many kids are raised in today's society and mom and dad just had to bust their butt for 10 hours or 12 hours or 8, whatever they work, but they come home, they just got their butt handed to them at work. They're dead tired. They still got to cook. They still got to get prepared for the next day. If they got animals, they got to feed the animals. And it's just real easy to put little Timmy and Jane in the room and just say, here, turn on the TV, give them a remote, let them watch some YouTube, give them Xbox controllers, and they go at that for hours. And the parents are just, oh, crack a beer. I'll just drink my wine. I'll just do this. And just, it's this routine. And like, you got to get out of that funk, man. Like, even if you're come home tired, like, put an hour aside to just sit there and spend some time with your kid without no devices on. Sit at a table and eat dinner with one another. Like, that's where we've gotten so messed up. Like, and I think so many kids are just thrown, as technology's their makeshift babysitter. How many kids do you go out and they're just there, like, the world could be blowing up around them, and they're just there on a tablet, you know what I mean? Just scrolling away like this. And it's like, dude, if something really happened, and then Lord forbid you take the tablet away from the child and they scream bloody murder and get everybody in the restaurant pissed. It's like,
Right.
It's scary. Like, how do we get away from these things? Like, we need to learn to disconnect ourselves from these. Yeah, I use this. Yeah, I could get down an Instagram wormhole. Yeah, I can do all. But bro, I'm really trying hard to be consciously aware of like how much my kids are consuming this and how much I'm consuming this. Like, let's use it, but let's learn not to let it have control over us. Like, because these things are controlling families' lives. Like, they're, it's crazy.
It's really interesting, Brandon, how, I mean, I feel your pain because I still get off this podcast and I go and I live my life amongst normies. You might think that I'm the biggest conversion successful guy. I don't even try anymore. It's like, wow, people don't, a lot of people just don't want to wake up. They just don't. So it's like, okay, well, I don't need to talk about this constantly.
Right.
Do have, but I do appreciate these times where we get to come on and bond and be around other people who are awake, because I know that we're few and far between, and we're just trying to sow the seeds a little bit around us and digitally around the world, and we just do the best that we can. But in reality, yeah, man, we're a rare breed, so we're like that diamond in the rough, and
it's like therapy.
yeah, you just got to embrace it and know that you're not alone, but yet we are kind of alone, because we are the 1%. We're like the less than the 1%. Really, truly, we are.
Yeah, and I think it's okay, but it's over here at the same time where everybody's looking at celebrities. But when it comes to somebody that was warning you with love about where do you think this thing's coming from in 2020 without going into details, it's like you'd rather trust person on TV as opposed to somebody that you grew up in a household with, whether high school, whatever, call it whatever you will. And you're over here going, guys, and you're just going, well, you sound like Alex Jones. That's why they created people like him as the poster boy of pointing. That's how you sound. You put them in the box, as opposed to saying, I'm pleading with you. I know you don't agree with me, but could you look at this article? I don't want to look at that. Like, I had a mentor that broke my heart. I had to leave we met at a Dunkin'. And I was pleading with him. I was saying, okay, can I show you something about 9/11? He didn't want to see that, because I said, okay, so you believe the official narrative. And I said, Star of Rem fan, Star David. I said, can I show you one slide that explains where this is in the Bible? He says, no, I don't want to see it. And he was telling me, like, doing the stuff that I do online says people only want 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You're going way too long with your stuff. It's never going to be successful. And I'm over here like, okay, let's be Paul and Barnabas. We're just going to separate ways. We'll have different ways of handling the way we do this. And he kept basically doing a dig at me. And I was literally looking at him like, dude, I'm finally getting up. Like, you prayed for me before I went to a Christian college that, God would have a thing on my life. You guys all laid your hands on me. I go over there, and now I'm actually getting up and doing something myself. It may not be the way you do it, but I'm doing something. And you're dissing me and you're throwing me down. And I literally just walked out. I said, I can't talk with you anymore. And I just left. We have not talked since. And I'm like, guys, that really hurt, because as a mentor, I respected a ton. I've actually, even the whole thing with the bridesmaid thing, he was the one that showed me that. And I'm over here going, dude, now when I want to share something with the elder is telling me to shut up. And I'm not saying I'm smarter than you. I just want to share what God's laid on my heart. And that's what's terrifying, when I can't even show one thing on a phone when you're sitting in front of a screen all day long. Now I want to share something with you, and you're telling me to shut up. That's what's really scary in our world, and it really breaks my heart that both peers and mentors, it's kind of old dogs can't learn their tricks, and peers, they're just so used to being, I don't know, NPCs, I guess is the best way to define it. Fluoride NPCs. Woo, woo, woo.
But
And when you
eventually,
do,
the student surpasses the teacher. That's just the way it is.
yes. But even the word sensei, it means before born. It's just somebody that knows something. They were previously here. They know a little bit more mentally than you, or in a skill, and you're supposed to respect that because they came before.
Mm.
That is what we've lost so much in our society. And then in reverse, once you become a man, like oh, I went to a bar mitzvah. Yeah, now you're a man. Treat them like a man. Is it that hard? Like at a certain point, I put away childish things and then I became a man, as Paul wrote. There's a certain point where you have to turn around and be like, I now respect you at the rank. You don't have to call me Mister. You can call me by my first name. I don't think we even teach that in our society.
Mm-mm. No, you know what's funny, and I don't know if you guys have this in your ethnic backgrounds, but like in the Hispanic community, it's like this thing that Hispanic mothers, I might catch some controversy for saying this, but Hispanic mothers favor boys over their girls. And in Hispanic homes, moms tend to treat their little baby son like their hito forever. And you'll have like 30-year-old men still being treated by their moms like they're these little babies. And like I've seen it, dude. It was funny. Like when I used to work security and I arrested this guy one time, and he was like this hardcore cholo gangster, and we detained this guy. And it was like he was there crying for his mommy. And mommy shows up and starts giving us the bit. And it's like, your son's out here like committing crimes and you're over here making excuses for him doing it. Like, and it's like, like, come on, folks. Like,
Yes.
I love the tightness of these Hispanic families. Like we really tend to have tight family units, but like what are we doing? Like, are we raising men, or are we raising people that have this sense of entitlement, or are we raising people that are victims? That's what's going on right now, is like everybody wants to play the victim card. Like, no, dude, you got to work for things. You got to like go out there and get them. Like they shouldn't just be handed over to you. When you hand something to somebody without them having to bust a sweat for it or having to invest any of their effort or time, it doesn't even have to be a physical labor. It could be a heart labor, or something that they spent time cultivating, like even planting a seed and watering it every day and putting it in the right amount of sun and giving it time to develop itself. Like people don't have things that they're doing to see the results of, like, if I make this action and I do these steps, there's an end result and I get rewarded for it. I think that's what's so beneficial of like living in, I know I went from like Hispanic moms coddling their sons to like this, but like, think about it. I mean,
Oh
that's
no.
why people who live on the land are so connected. I envy cats like Billy Bond from Permaculture Pimpcast. How connected is he to our Heavenly Father, doing all these tasks every day, raising these animals on his farm, and raising them from hatchlings to seeing them grow to being on the dinner plate, and being the one that raised them to that point where now I'm feeding my family with this, or I planted this seed during this time of the year, and then during these times I made this compost to put around it and water it and take these steps and put it just in the right place and nurture this thing, and now I'm pulling it from the ground and I'm eating this. Like you it's tangible. You see it. You see the results. Like in our society, they have took that, they're taking that away from us. It's just like, no, rely on the system, be part of the system, consume what comes from the system. Oh, if you don't conform to the system and our mandates, well, then you can't be a part of the system. And then these people don't have any skills to be out of the system because they're so reliant on it.
No, that is a biblical transition, is that we're the world is so bamboozled with what is a good structure and family that they're going to seek government over God as the solution. That's ultimately what it's intentionally doing, is break down the family. Now we know why, because you're not going to understand what a spiritual family is supposed to be as well.
It's the number one thing in communism: get rid of God first, rely on the government. Boom.
Yes.
Come on, guys. The playbook is right there. It's like so easy to see. And then you got the conspiracy theory Alex guy. It's like, oh man, like you said, Brandon, like people don't want. I don't know. Like I was telling Raul too about my cousin. She's sick, and I've been telling her about all these great people that we've known. Kelly Blackwell. This weekend, miracle happens. She joins some Facebook group. Somebody told her about the benefits of holistic healing and cannabinoids. All of a sudden, she's ready to talk to Kelly Blackwell. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to say I told you so, but I've been telling you for how many years? But I didn't say it out loud, but I was thinking it. And I'm just like, and at the same time, my prayers got answered. So at
Yes.
least somebody broke through, but it's so weird when you're close to these people and all you want is you love them and you have no ulterior motive and all you do is love them and they won't listen to you, but they'll listen to some stranger on Facebook that said that you should do this. And then maybe it's God working in mysterious ways, but I don't know. We should name that phenomenon. Maybe it already is named because there's nothing new under the sun, but it drives me crazy. It's like, and I tell this to my girls too all the time. I care about you, like talking about the mentor aspect, not just being a father, but
Right.
there is no one in this world other than me and your mother that want nothing but the best for you. Period. I have no ulterior motives other than for you not to make the exact same mistakes as me, make a different mistake. But here are the mistakes that I made. This is your, little warning. Try a few different things and be successful. Like that's your leg up. Like learn from me. And it's so important. And it's really too bad about your mentor. But yeah, some people they just close up. Like maybe it was just a one-way street, that mentorship.
Yeah.
And that is heartbreaking though, because you don't want to lose those connections. But at the
Oh,
same time,
yeah.
he kind of showed himself when you're like, hey, look at this. Like this is important to me. So
And
I
I think it
apologize.
taps into Hosea. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. But
Knowledge.
we always stop there, but it goes on. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will reject you from being my high priest, and I will also forget your children. And again, as now as people who are being representatives of the high priest because of the temple veil being ripped into, what are we trying to do? Trying to give you some knowledge. And I'm not saying like wisdom. I'm saying like knowledge as in I care about your body. I care about the ailments that you go through. I care about your pains. I actually want to find a way to make sure that you're not going through depression. I want to make sure that you're not, I care about you a lot more than a system of this world. And you would rather trust a system that you're like, oh yeah, I hate the system. We need to drain the swamp, but it's at the same time you're casting your vote of consent for the same thing that's been hurting you. You're pledging allegiance to a thing that dumps chemtrails on you, that freaking poisoning your food, that has fluorided your water, and is burning up all the natural resources of our life. That's the four horsemen of the apocalypse, by the way, folks. And you are going saying, yeah, I'm going to pledge my allegiance to that. Are you crazy? You're going to go to get a fee or a fine if you throw a worm in a water to feed yourself to get a fish? Home of the
Right?
free, home of the
Speak it,
brave,
brother.
Yep.
home of the fees, home of the slaves. I mean, come on, folks, we're getting it
Mm.
mixed up. All for the
Wow.
kingdom of heaven. I don't see why people would love the things of this world. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's Stockholm Syndrome 101. I don't get it.
Yeah, man. And it's we have been victimized by the totalitarian tiptoe. Shout out to shout out to my buddy Tom Bernier that just his episode gonna be
A
coming
lot of
out
shout outs
soon.
this
Amazing.
episode.
But yeah, totalitarian tiptoe, man. That's what it's been, dude. It's been a death by 1,000 cuts, and just people don't see it just because it's just little increments here and there, but we see it. It's just like, can you imagine if you could have just be like, I know you're young and I'm surprised by how young you are because you're so wise, Brandon, but like Alex and myself, we're 46 years old, right? So I couldn't imagine being plucked from 1990 and then just all of a sudden pluck me and place me in 2024. Like we don't notice the huge change because we've been experiencing it the whole time. But if you would have just pulled me out of 1990 and thrown me in 2024, I'd be like, what the heck is wrong with these kids? By like, what? Like this is going on?
Peak
Like,
civilization, 94.
yeah, dude, like I couldn't even
That was my year.
imagine it. I couldn't even imagine it. It's crazy. Like, Oh, yeah.
Dude.
Sorry.
You know,
No,
Raul, I was just
good.
gonna quickly say, Raul, and Brandon, like, I don't know if you guys realize this, but us three, we're the good guys that everybody cheers for in the movies, but in reality, we're the bad guys that they're like, why are you bucking the system? It's like, bro, you just watched Star Wars. You just cheered for the rebellion. You 1984, we're the ones
Hmm.
trying to be like, what the fuck is going on? Red Dawn, Red Dawn. Like,
Yeah, we're the Wolverines.
we're the Wolverines in Red Dawn. Who are you cheering for? Are you cheering for the the government? No, you're cheering for us. But in real life, oh man, the government's got our backs. They're the good guys. Like the
Yeah.
politicians, they're good. Like holy shit,
And they
dude.
call us narcissists or whatnot. Like when you started the show, that's why I was laughing so hard because you said you organize all the complaints in the trash. And I was laughing because you get all these NPCs that are over here going, well, it was a good episode, but you missed this and this and this, or you didn't put this link in the link and you didn't. It's like, this is the world we live in, is that content consumers are always complaining about the content creators, even though they're bothering to do something, putting something out there. You look at their page, I have two pictures of my dog and something else when like I went to Halloween, this is my mask costume. And you're over here like, you're doing nothing. You're an
Mhm.
NPC or you have zero posts. And they all have time to come up and critique you. When it comes to actually doing something in society, you're not doing a thing. And this is where I'm laughing. And this is what I really liked in the series Daredevil, where Punisher and Daredevil were arguing on the roof, and they're arguing over the morals of philosophies of when you put them into jail, they just come right back out. And Punisher is like, when I put them down, they stay down. They're at least debating
Ooh.
how we do things. We're debating how we handle the situation. And I'm over here going, guys, most of us aren't even doing that. We're not even talking about it. But you like again, in the movies, you love these guys as heroes. You're over here wearing their merchandise. But and
Mhm.
Alex, it's funny you should say that because I said that to my buddy. I said you're like the bucket head from Star Wars. I said you're putting on the helmet and you're serving Palpatine. But the
Right.
thing is, movie you love Han Solo. And I said, but you're literally thinking Buckethead, even though I'm showing you a kid that's mutilated from over in the Middle East. You're just shrugging your ear when I'm showing compare contrast. You're all go, bloody ear Trump, but the kid in the Middle East, meh. Really?
Yep.
This is how inhumane you are?
Ah,
Man, that's
it's
perfect, man. They're stormtroopers.
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
It's
Call
so
them a
crazy, and
buckethead Republican.
stormtroopers were really easy to take out. Let's be honest, like they were really easy to take out. So like that ain't gonna be me, son. But no, and hey, you did forget one. Like you were mentioning all these great characters and stuff. We're also Charlton Heston and telling them not to eat the Soylent Green.
Right on, man. Right on. That's such a
Yeah,
weird movie, though. I don't know if
yeah,
Brandon saw
Burger
that, but
King, man. Sorry, McDonald's. Abe Finkelstein. Look that up on BitChute. You're gonna get freaked out, folks.
oh
That
man,
one.
what
Tyler
was
was
that?
warning me. Tyler was warning me about
Abe
McDonald's.
Finkelstein, a rabbi, was talking about
Oh yeah.
how they're really processed in McDonald's burgers. That's gonna freak you out. With I'm never gonna want to eat a burger in a public place again. Kind
It's
of video.
people. It's
Yeah.
people.
It's a cookbook. I
Oh
think
man.
another thing that I really liked, another scene that I really appreciate was from the show Vikings when the King of England guy was talking to Ragnar right before his execution. He's over here like, I have to do it because this is what my people are expecting. And they're, you know how they had like this frenemy bonds, and 1 minute we're actually relatable because we realize how scumbag we are behind the scenes. But at this moment, we're arguing about religion. We're talking about politics. And in the moment, we have mutual respect, even though we're enemies. These days, enemies are saying, I'm not even going to talk to you. I don't even have respect for you. Back in the
Mhm.
day, I was over here like, you picked up your weapons, you went into battle, but there was a semi-mutual respect of, hey, at least you're gonna come and see me face to face. You want to
Mhm.
swing that? You're gonna swing it at me. Now, like I was arguing with a guy at my job, and I was telling him about there's like 17 to 18 different ways to draw a katana. And I was talking about if I close the distance and you weren't expecting it, there's this way to do it. And he's over like, well, just draw the gun, classic Indiana Jones, just draw the gun, just draw the gun. I said, do you realize how impersonal that is? It's just pull up, pull out, bam, pull out, put it. You're letting the other thing do the walking, the distance for you. It's kind of like sitting in a lounge chair. I don't want to get up and actually fight you with swings of a spear or a sword or do training. It's just draw and boom. Not that I'm saying there's nothing. I'm saying there's the method of being respect and the time you've invested into getting this skill down.
Mm.
And I went and talked to this senior Chinese guy, and I was messing with him. We always have racial jokes with each other all the time. And I went up to him. I says, "What's your thoughts on this thing?" And I said, "Do you think this is the right way to do it? This is the wrong way to do it." And this is what he's saying. He's going, "Your first mistake was arguing with a fat man." And I look, what? And he goes, "He thinks with his belly, not with his mind. That was your first mistake." And I was
Wow.
going, you know what? Touche. That is probably one of the most profound things I've ever heard, because it really made me think, you know what? That was a useless argument, because some people, they don't want to think outside the box of it's simple and this is what I know.
Mhm.
They don't have appreciation.
I think that's kind of what happened to me at the last church that I was attending. Is like, I know I didn't want to like bring up biblical cosmology with the people there because I didn't want to get the church riled up, but at the same time, like, people knew I was doing this podcast, and people were like, well, what do you talk about on your show? And this is at the time where like flat earth was probably 90% of our episodes,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, well, do you really want to know? Okay, well, here's what I'm talking about. And then you start to show them things, and you start to show them things about the place that we live, and you start to point out how scriptures point to the same things. And Joshua and all these stories about the sun and the moon being moving, but the earth is stationary. You start telling them about, well, how does the Tower of Babel make sense on your spinning rock? Like, what do you make of the firmament? What do you think of God's throne? Is God's throne like 9600 trillions of light years away? Is he close? It says, because the Bible says he looks down upon us like grasshoppers. Like,
Yes.
what do you think about this stuff? Like, is it, oh, it's just metaphorical? Like, what if this stuff is actually literal? Like, what do you really think about giants? And it's like, people are like, oh, those are some cool stories. How about we talk about next Sunday's sermon? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, it bothered me. And it's almost like, how come we can't have these conversations? And it bothered me so bad. Like, after a while, I'm like, I just can't go through the motions. I can't be fake. Like, I do think this stuff is important. I do yearn for a church where we can talk about these things. Let's stop running away from them. Let's
Mm.
have these discussions.
I just think those things are so glossed over. Like David versus Goliath, we always concentrate on David, and Goliath maybe was just a big dude, not necessarily a giant, right? Or there's all these things. Noah's Ark, oh, it's a cute little kid's fairy tale or whatever. Um, even me, like, I knew about Noah's Ark. I didn't know till I was older why God flood, or why the earth was flooded. I didn't understand that all the flesh was corrupted. That part seemed like it was glossed over for
Mm.
me as a child, right? I don't think the children get that. It's just like, oh, it just started raining all of a sudden, and God was warning Noah, build this ark just because it's going to be a lot of rain, but they don't tell you why it's going to rain. I don't know if you guys remember that when you were kids too.
I
No?
just did that recently at a sermon, and I was like, "Oh, Genesis 6, this is going to be good." I wonder if he's going to mention Genesis 6:4 and mention the build up to this. And he jumps like right down to 10 or 11 in Genesis 6, and I was like, "Bruh, context."
Right. It's all the
Yeah.
good stuff. Just like Enoch. They took
Mhm.
Enoch out, and Enoch's like
Yes.
all the good stuff. I was reading Enoch. I'm like, this could be a comic book. It's so good.
Yes. Hey, what are your thoughts about when the Euphrates dries up and is it in the Euphrates where the two witnesses appear?
Well, I have a hunch that the two witnesses are actually real Christians in Scripture, because it says in Isaiah. Again, I did this episode, God's Been Divorced, but I was explaining we're expecting old men with beards to show up. And again, physical Israel, we're all looking over there, as opposed
Mhm.
to what if that was internationally, like right now on a podcast? Everybody's hearing it, and they're all across the world. People have heard the message. It's getting out virally. Everybody's seen it. And all of a
Mhm.
sudden, you have the purge, where you get rid of all the people, the voice of the bridegroom and the bride was no longer heard in thee. For the rich men were the merchants of the earth, and by their pharmakia, sorceries, were the nations deceived. And I'm over here going, I kind of wonder if that has any connotation. Again and again, spitting fire, maybe that's an equivalent of you're actually breathing fire from Scripture. You're making it come alive. You just spit fire, bro. As somebody who's a rapper, you know, maybe there's a little something there, or maybe that's yet to come. I don't know. But for me, I'm over here going, what if it could be happening in real time right now? And because folks don't want to look at it in a different way or perspective, at least entertain it. Because they were expecting Christ with all these other different credentials. He shows up and they're like, not the one we were looking for because we mixed it with some of this other stuff. We made God in our own image. You're not the one we were looking for. Hence King of the Use episode. And it's like, guys, I think, what if that's the same thing? Now the bride is actually getting ready herself, having these conversations, getting tired of seeing what's in the building tradition religions of the world. And people don't even see it because they don't want to join. Because what was it? What was it with the sleeping bridesmaids? They didn't have oil. Again, what did I just say? Hosea 4 said, my people destroyed for a lack of knowledge. What's oil? Oil is Holy Spirit discernment. You have the lamp, which is God's word. I think in Psalms 118, I know it's in Psalms now, but it's making me go, okay, so if thy word is a lamp unto my feet, but you don't have oil, what's the point of having a book if you don't understand context?
Mm-hmm.
You're no better than a Pharisee throwing scriptures at, and or Satan. He goes up to Jesus. He's like, "What? That's not what that means," and you know that. So go away. Like it's and again, Garden of Gethsemane means oil press. You had Eden, which was paradise. Now you have oil press. And what were the disciples doing? Just like the bridesmaids, they were falling asleep because they didn't understand all the parables and whatnot. They didn't understand what was about to go down. So I wouldn't be surprised if now that those who are indwelled with the Holy Spirit, like it was saying in Acts 19, they're saying, were you baptized by John the Baptist or were you baptized in the Holy Spirit? Because John's was a baptism of repentance, whereas the Holy Spirit, you're now being indwelled. Big difference. Do you understand what the repercussions of that is? This is why he had to clarify for them. And when you understand that, you start going, oh, so there's a little something more at depth here that we could be witnesses. And both, because people don't understand their gift in the Holy Spirit, that's what they don't want. Because you have two major religions at the end of the day. One is trying desperately to keep their followers asleep, and the other one is trying earnestly to wake us up. That's Christianity.
I have a question for you, Brandon.
Uh-oh.
I need you to buckle up for this one. Let's say, Raul, that Brandon Kroll decides that he's going to join a seminary tomorrow, and all the things that he knows right now, but he's going to go in and he's going to start studying to be a priest or a pastor somewhere. What do you think that looks like, Brandon, as you're going in and you're not just going to take, because I have a feeling it's just like school. It's like these are the things that we're going to teach you because we've always done it. This is the tradition. Yes. Would you picture it going that way? Would you picture yourself getting kicked out right away? Would you buck it?
Well, honestly, that's why I said before on our other shows, I went to that school and it was so denominationally focused. I said, where am I ever going to use that particular verse? Like, I want verses where when I spit them out, it has context, it has relevance. It's not just, okay, love one each other, yada yada. I'm not saying that's bad. Do not get me wrong and don't take that out of context. What I'm saying is, when I want to talk about the firmament, I have verses for firmament. When I want to talk about the love of the Father, I have the love of the Father verses. That's what I'm saying. And if I went to a seminary school, I think I would be so controversial they would kick me out, or they would intentionally hit my grades, so I would not be able to pass or continue. Because what am I doing? You're not doing the system. You're not doing what we are programmed to do. And they infiltrated our seminaries, according to a book by Paul Kengor, Devil and Karl Marx. He was talking about how they had communism infiltrating our seminaries. And again, that's based off of the Talmud.
That's crazy. That's crazy that communism would basically kill God.
Or make him a socialist or do this. This is
Right.
like, guys, yeah, they've diluted who he is, or they've demolished the perception of how we're supposed to connect and how we're supposed to emulate. That's the biggest thing. And especially with the priest system, like I said, Diacono Catholicism, it has to be the holy man, or somebody needs to know about Jesus. I'll bring him to church and let the pastor talk to him. And again, you throw all that responsibility on one guy. And as Frank Viola's book was talking, people are getting depressed in the ministry because they're like, I can't be a therapist, plus take care of that, plus try to do this, like, lawn work for a lady that's, old member of the church, plus do the thing for the, and then plus practice sermon. No, this is why it's a body. And this is what
Mm,
we've
mm,
totally distorted with the structure. So for myself, I'm over here like I wouldn't need to do seminary because, as Rayola mentioned so lovely earlier, just pick up the Bible, read some contextual things. Like, does Enoch have any relevance? Like for me, I look at Jeremiah 37, and you have this Ethiopian eunuch going to visit Jeremiah, right? And I find that interesting because city's about to be laid siege. If you're about to leave and exit before it gets sacked, what are you going to do? Going to grab some historical documents. Fast forward to Acts chapter 7, and you have, what was it? Philip walking alongside the Ethiopian eunuch's chariot as he's reading from a scroll of Isaiah, both from Ethiopia. And right when Israel is getting founded, around 46, 48, 48, whatever, when they find the book of Enoch,
Mm.
Ethiopia.
mm-hmm.
Is it possible that this guy grabbed it from the time when he was with Jeremiah and he says, I'm going to bring this back to my home country because this is important just in case anything happens to this country. Someday this will be important and relevant. And God's
Mm,
preserved that through all this time. So people just saying eject it, it's not important. I'm like,
wow.
no, it could be evidence. I don't know. But when I'm reading it, I'm going, you good. You very good.
Hmm.
Because he knows how to keep it alive.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did want to bring up because I know we're getting kind of late and I
Yeah,
could rock
yeah.
with you all night because we're on fire, brother. And actually, I really enjoyed tonight, man. I enjoyed this
Same.
time with you, and I enjoy the conversational pieces that we have because that's kind of how we like to do things on Firmamental. And you brought so much good tonight. I thank you for joining us. But I did hear you mention you seem to have a lot of knowledge about. Can you tell me the you were talking about this with Cliff, I think, and you were talking about the how there's places in America that mirror a lot of what happened in the Bible. And you were talking about the river system of the Mississippi, and you were talking about the names of the town then and around. Uh, could you share some of that with us real quick with Alex? I don't think Alex has heard that from you.
Yeah, well, again, I had to, it's better to have the slide, but I was talking about everything that's named like the Memphis River, Memphis, Tennessee. Then it parallels exactly what's over in Egypt. Giants were to the left of the Great River, Mississippi, and stuff like that. And you get this from a lot of Indian lore. They had wars with the giant tribes and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. And in contrast, on the right side of the rivers, the Nile, you had all the giant tribes. And for myself, I'm over here going, I don't think it's the one where they're saying, oh, this was originally Egypt over here. What I'm seeing is it's bookends for them. We're going to bring new Babylon
Mm-hmm.
back to the old. East meets west, Helios. What do? You had to bring the old back over to the new back over to the old, because
Mm-hmm.
that's what the statue from Daniel chapter 2 represents. They want the golden era, the head on that statue, when in actuality it comes to the empire of iron and clay merging with machines. 666, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons, 6 protons, man merging with a mechanical aspect. And what they've done with America, they've intentionally named everything to
Mm-hmm.
be a mirror. So you hold it up and it's like it's the same thing. So when people are telling me the Antichrist has to come from Syria, I'm like, it's here in America. When you see do you guys watch The Boys?
No, but I've
I've
caught
seen a couple.
episodes.
It's pretty
Okay,
crazy.
so
Yeah, yeah,
in
Pretty
yeah.
crazy.
season
Crazy.
4, they have Homelander sucking at a lady's. Then I showed it to Rayola. I said, this is what
Yeah, yeah.
modern dispensationalism is. And when you look at the fake counterfeit Jesus that they got in the Catholic Church, he sucks at the teat of the whore of Babylon. And that was something that was making me go, who's this? Like, we're founded as a Jesuit country. Maryland was named after Virgin Mary. Washington, D.C. used to be known as Rome. Folks don't seem to realize this, and we have a lot of symbolism that goes back to that particular country. So I'm like, it doesn't necessarily mean we're the Catholic Church. Like, I saw the blood of the saints, and people were doing that. Were wearing robes of red and purple, which is very similar to the cardinals of the Catholic Church. And I'm going, guys, this is where I was digging, and I was going, Trump has a variation of Christ pagan doppelganger's name, Tammuz. Like Donald, right? World ruler. Trump to deceive or one up or outdo somebody else. But then you go with like you were saying, the etymology of some names.
Mm-hmm.
Dawn in Spanish, which comes from a Latin base, correct? I think we can all agree with that. It means
Mm-hmm.
Lord. Interesting, because Baal means Lord. But let's go a little further. So we had Trump, Donald connects with Adonis, Adonis is equivalent of Dumazid, a Sumerian goat shepherd god, like Baphomet, like pandemic, pandemonium, panic, Peter Pan. So then Dumazid's equivalent was Tammuz. In the Greek, he's known as Hermes. Over in Rome, Hermes is known as Mercury, and Mercury traces right back to Marduk and Baal. And I'm over here saying, how do you think it can weaponize a Christian country, get all the denominations to come back together, Christian, and go right back to Catholicism ever so gradually, and you're doing a purge in God's name because they're against the system? And it makes me go, I think that's very plausible. I think it's very plausible. And this is why I'm saying, what Rayols were mentioning, when I see all of this replication going on in our country, and people are saying, no, it has to be always over there, I'm over here going, no, because there's nothing new under the sun. I think they created an empire intentionally for this purpose, and they're going to weaponize it.
Wow.
Oh. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And I was talking to, I think it was my mother-in-law. She's a big-time Catholic. I was asking her what she thought about the Jesuits because, no, she's like, oh yeah, no, I think they're good. They've contributed quite a bit. I'm like, what? Anyway, so you're completely asleep, and it's like, okay, we'll let sleeping dogs lie. I'm not going to give you a heart attack at 75 years old. Like, but if they knew the things that I believe now, they'd probably lose their minds. But
Yeah.
how do you wake up these people when they don't even know what they're doing, right? Like they're doing all these crazy things that they don't even understand what they're doing. They're just
Forgive them,
following
Father,
a
they
line.
know not what they do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're just following along, and man, yeah, I just want to thank you, Brandon, because it's not easy to walk this path. It's not easy to be awake. It's not easy, and it's not fun. It actually is not fun saying "I told you so" and
No.
watching people get turbo cancers and all this crazy shit that we've been trying to warn them about since day one. Like, I didn't ask to be woken up. It just happened to me. I just got unplugged one day, and it was, yeah, it was quite a painful process. But here we are, and I'm not like Raul. Like at the beginning, we're not crazy flat earthers anymore. Just going bananas, shooting our machine guns at people, trying to wake them up. We're a lot more calm now. But dude, this is a wild ride, and the more we're waking up and seeing the evils of the world and how everything's been perverted. Religion's supposed to be like sacred, and yet they're not.
Mm-mm.
That's a travesty.
Yep. I remember there was a time, but and maybe it was even before I became a Christian, you're just thinking like, oh, well, all religions are good. All religions have some aspect of good in them. They're here to serve humanity. You can learn something from each one and take it bits and pieces and just make it into your own life and just have your own, hodgepodge soup that you make, of whatever fits for me. And that's kind of what our societies come to, just period. It's just like, okay, it's just like whatever works for you, and we need to analyze, like you said, like Socrates, like why do you believe in this? What is it that you actually, and when you put it under that kind of microscope and you put it under that kind of pressure, it's either gonna crumble or it's gonna be a gem. And that's the thing that we're doing. We're applying pressure by asking these questions. Like, does this really work? Is this something worth holding on to, or is this something that we need to let go of? Is this a gem, or is this just dust that's just going to get blown away? And the more and more we have these conversations, we start to realize that as we apply the pressure and push more against these norms, we're extracting these gems. But it's crazy. We could show people like, look at this, look what I found, and it's just like they don't want to see it. It's like, well, I thought I found a gem here. Like,
yeah. No, man. Like you're saying though, what are your core beliefs and why do you believe them? Those are hard questions to ask and answer.
Yes.
Even ourselves. So like, if I asked myself 10 years ago compared to now, I would be like, wow, it's like Brandon was saying with the mirror. I'm like a bookend now. I'm like the total opposite. And maybe it's designed that way.
I think like I was reading this book, and it's a satire, but it's saying how satires tend to go after people that have got this like system. And I amped off of this. I was going, so a lot of people are picking a life philosophy like a buffet religion, and it's like a microwave philosophy. It's already been thought out for me. It's already had a smart person at the helm, and it's like that's your life philosophy. But then when you press them, suddenly they go, well, just refer to the guy. Refer to the guy. This is my belief. That's your truth. That's your truth. And it's over here going, you don't really stand or believe in anything. And when I show you contrary, like what somebody was doing chakra, said, I'm getting this from the Joy of Satan Ministries website, and they're talking how this connects exactly to the Kabbalah and Anton LaVey. You have any cross-examination you like to bring up? And that's the thing. It's just like I'm asking you, does this look right to you? Does this smell like chloroform?
And by the way, the Earth's flat.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's just like, guys, if we could just sit there and stop doing like you just said, Rayo. I was doing a bus ministry one time, and I went up to this porch, and I looked on one side of the porch. It was the statue of the Virgin Mary, and on the other side it was Buddha. And I was going, do they get married? Like, what's the like? What? Two different things, and you're saying, oh, let's just merge them together. And I think that's what most of our society is. Take a little of this, take a little of that, and I'll make God in my own image. And I think I think it was Mark Twain, even though he was a 33, folks, he was a 33 Mason. He said, God made man in his own image, and then man, being a gentleman, decided to return the favor.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was like, yeah.
I've never heard that quote.
We definitely did that. To paraphrase, or he made God in his own image. I was like, yeah, it's kind of what we did. We said, we'll put you in the closet, and we'll take you out when we want you, like a genie. And that's not what you're supposed to do with God. You're supposed to have a constant relationship. But anyways, thank you, gentlemen, for having me on. I really appreciated this chat. I got, like I said, spiritual endorphins were kicking in big time.
Oh man, I had a fun time tonight, man. Alex, anything else for Brandon before we call this one a wrap?
No, I just want to say thanks. Thanks for coming back. This is anytime we do a good roundtable like this, it's always one of my favorites. Just because we're all kind of contributing, and I feel like like you said, the endorphins get going. It's our church,
Yes.
and we get divinely inspired, and we say things that we feed off of each other, and I love that kind of stuff. And for me, it's a huge gift to be able to even contribute. Hopefully, I said something of value.
Oh yeah, you did.
For,
You got
for
me
you
thinking
guys.
on something.
So yeah, thank you guys. Thank you, Raul. Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. Once again, thank you for coming back for round 3. We look forward to having you here in the future. And when we do one of our Royal Rumbles, man, we need to get Kroll on, bring some Krollology to the table. Once again, Brandon, can you please share with the Firmamentalists where they can find you, given the name of your podcast and your social media tags?
Sure. Mana Daily Podcast, Rumble, Spotify, and YouTube. And we're now breaching into BitChute. So
Oh, nice.
ever so slowly, we're going to be starting to put things, especially for special conversations that get a little bit more heated. I'm going to try to throw them on there. But yeah, and then Krollology, like my name on the screen, Krollology, _101. If you're open to controversial, then feel free to follow. And again, thank you, gentlemen, for having me on.
Right on. Well, you heard it here, folks. This was another banger for the books. Thank you for joining us. And you guys know the routine. Protect your dome. And we'll see you next time. Peace.